guys, and welcome back to our last session of the one and only Ivan. If you have been here from the beginning, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been such a fun adventure for me in my teaching career, and it has been so fun to still be able to read with you even though we were online and in a virtual classroom. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you had just as much fun as I did. I really love these characters. I love this story, and it has been just a joy for me to be able to connect with you even through these really difficult and hard circumstances. And I hope you had fun too and connected with our characters because they are very special and very wonderful and very loving and kind. I know all of us really love animals, and we were all rooting for a happy ending, and I really, really feel like we're going to get that today. So let's dive in. Tomorrow we will be starting a new book in our book club, and I think most of you will really like it. And what I'm hoping is that we have even more people from our class join our book club because it's going to be an easy read and a silly read, and I think a lot of you are really going to find it funny. But that will come tomorrow. Today we have a job to do. Today we have to see how the one and only Ivan ends. We left off with Ivan climbing up to the top of the tree in his new sanctuary in his new home in the zoo with his troop. And he peers atop all of the trees, and he sees giraffes, hippos, deers, a bear snoozing on a log, and he sees elephants. Safe. She's far away, belly deep in tall grass, with others by her side. Ruby. She's here, Stella, I whisper. Ruby's safe, just like I promised. And here she is. Happy, happy, happy Ruby. I call to Ruby, but the wind tugs at my words, and I know she'll never hear me. Still, Ruby pauses for a second, her ears spread wide like tiny sails. Then, with lumbering grace, she moves on through the grass. I get so choked up about Ruby. I love her and I love Ivan, and the fact that he has a moment to whisper to Stella and speak to someone that he loved and say she's safe and I did it. It's Ivan must be feeling just so much joy in his heart, just as I am. Silverback. It's a cloudy evening, chill and drizzly. Dinner is on its way, but I don't care. At night, we sleep in our den, but I'm always the last to head inside. I've been inside long enough. This time of day, there aren't many visitors, just a few stragglers leaning on the wall that separates us. They point, take a couple photos, then head over to the nearby giraffes. One of the keepers is beckoning. Reluctantly, I turn to go. So beckoning means like, come, let's go. Out of the corner of my eye, I see someone running. I pause. It's a girl with dark hair, lugging a backpack. A man follows behind, racing to catch up. Who do you think it is? Ivan, the girl yells. Ivan! It's Julia. I scramble to the edge of the wide moat that skirts the wall. Julia and George wave to me. I dash back and forth, hooting and grunting, doing a gorilla dance of happiness. Calm down, says a voice. You're behaving like a chimp. I freeze. A tiny, nut-brown, big-eared head pops out of Julia's backpack. Nice place, Bob says. Bob, I say, it's really you. In the flesh. How? Where? I can't seem to find any words. Who it is? There's Julia, and there's little Bob, waving to see Ivan in his wonderful, safe new home. George's job at the zoo doesn't start till next month, so he and Julia made an agreement. She's walking 3 extra dogs to cover my food. And get this, they're all poodles. You said you didn't want a home, I say. Yeah, Bob says, but Julia's mom likes my company, so I figured I'm doing everybody a favor. It's a win-win. Julia pushes Bob's head back inside her backpack. You're not supposed to be here, she reminds him. Ivan looks great, doesn't he, Jules? George asks. Stronger, happier even. Julia holds up a little photo, but it's too far away for me to see. I'm getting very emotional. It's Ruby, Ivan. She's with the other elephants now. Because of you. I know, I want to tell her. I saw with my own eyes. We stare across the expanse that separates us. After a while, George pats Julia's arm. Time to go, Jules. Julia gives a wistful smile. Bye, Ivan. Say hello to your new family. She turns to George. Thank you, Dad. For what? For... She gestures towards me. For this. They turn to leave. The lamps that light the zoo pathways blink on, blanketing the world with yellow light. I can just make out Bob's little head sticking out of Julia's backpack. You are the one and only Ivan, he calls. I nod, then turn toward my family, my life, my home. Mighty Silverback, I whisper. And there he is, in his beautiful home. And that is the end of the one and only Ivan. I feel super emotional. You all know how emotional Miss Puglisi really is, and I am very open with you about it, and I just really, really, really love animals, and I'm very passionate about their treatment, and I just loved the story of Ivan and how much he loved Ruby and how much he felt that he had to take care of his little friend because of his older friend Stella. And it's just a wonderful story about the treatment of animals and the feelings that they have. And everything ended up good and happy. And Julia's dad got a job at the zoo, and she's going to be able to see Ivan. Bob ended up with Julia. Ivan has a family, a girlfriend, a safe, big place to roam. And and Ruby is accepted where she is in tall grass and mud and has a family. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. Before we end, I want to tell you something very special. This book is very important. And I'm going to read to you why in the author's note. The One and Only Ivan is a work of fiction, but the true inspiration for this imagined tale lies in a true story. Ivan, a real gorilla, lived at Zoo Atlanta, but on the way to that happy ending, he spent almost 3 decades without seeing another of his own kind. So this whole entire story is fictional because obviously we cannot know what's going on in a gorilla's head, but it was based off of a true gorilla named Ivan. He ended up living in the Zoo Atlanta, which is a beautiful zoo, a humane zoo, and that's where he ended up. But he spent 30 years in a place similar to the Big Top Mall. 30 years without seeing another gorilla. After being captured as an infant in what is now the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ivan's twin sister died en route to the U.S. or shortly thereafter. Ivan was raised in a home until he became unmanageable. At that point, he was added to an odd collection of animals housed at a circus-themed mall in Washington state. Ivan spent 27 years of his life alone in a cage. Over time, as an understanding of primate needs and behavior grew, public discomfort with Ivan's lonely state grew as well, particularly after he was featured in a National Geographic special entitled The Urban Gorilla. A public outcry followed, including heartfelt letters from children. When the mall where Ivan lived went bankrupt, which means they ran out of money, he was placed on permanent loan to Zoo Atlanta, which houses the largest group of captive western lowland gorillas in the nation. Ivan became a beloved celebrity at Zoo Atlanta, where he lived contently with Kenyani and other gorillas. He was known for his paintings, which were often signed with his own thumbprint. Ivan and Kenyani were real gorillas, and so, by the way, was Jambo, whose story Stella tells to Ivan and Bob. But all the other characters and situations in this novel are entirely a product of the author's imagination. She says, when I started to write about the grim facts of Ivan's solitary existence, a new tale slowly began to take shape, at least on the page, where everything is possible. I wanted to give Ivan, even while captive behind the walls of his tiny cage, a voice of his own and a story to tell. I wanted to give him something to protect, and the chance to be the mighty silverback he always was meant to be. So what happens is Ivan was a real gorilla who lived 27 years at a circus themed mall in Washington State, and eventually that there was a National Geographic special on him called The Urban Gorilla, and people were so upset, just like the protesters were in this story, that they fought to have him removed from that setting because it wasn't right. Eventually the mall went bankrupt, and he was given to Zoo Atlanta, where he lived the rest of his life. And something very interesting is that the author went to go see Ivan in real life in 2013 and got to meet his caretaker, Jody, who was a very special woman who took care of him and fed him and was someone who looked after Ivan and really transitioned him into living into the wild. And she was able to get his signature. And there's a little note on here for the one and only All My Best Catherine. The author wrote that. And then at the bottom there is a real life signature from Ivan right down here. So if you would like, you can search Ivan, find more out about him. And there's going to be the one and only Bob, which is a new story coming out in this summer. It's about Ivan, Ruby, and little Bob. So if you would like to read that on your own, you totally can. But thank you so much. I hope that you feel everything that I'm feeling inside myself, which is love, compassion, and excitement for our friends, because they were really given the life that they deserve, and it is a beautiful story. And it also teaches us that if you believe in something, just like Julia did, you can do the right thing. It's always an option. And animals are good, and we should take care of them at all costs. I'll see you tomorrow.